All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And this is coming off of my last video. Boy, that has to be my most divisive video that I have put out there yet. Boy, did it get a lot of people angry. I had some new commenters come in and make some interesting comments, and I'm just ignoring all of them. So you could go back and watch that video, and I'm still going to address why I brought that subject up. And we did have James Gunn respond yesterday, and I'm going to show you what he responded with, what he responded, how he responded. I'll actually show you that tweet, and I'm going to talk about what it means. But we have quite a few things to go over. They're still marketing the Blue Beetle movie. The first reactions are out. I'm going to talk about that here as well. So let's get started on this update. All right, now Snyder King posted this, and I thought this was kind of funny because it is true, and this kind of just sums up my feelings for Peter Safran, James Gunn, and just Warner Brothers in general. So James Gunn fired Henry Cavill because he was too old to play Superman, lied about Ben Affleck directing for the DCU, lied to Gal Gadot about her role as Wonder Woman, kept his Peacemaker crew, butchered The Flash, and hired all his friends from Marvel. Wow, what a legacy. And that pretty much sums it up. That is what is happening here. There's been a lot of lies and deceptions coming from the studio. Now, are they directly from James Gunn? Well, yes and no. The Affleck thing was a lie. There's no question about that. He did also lie about doing a Superman film, and he lied about being the head of the studio. He said he changed his mind about those things from the past, but it was pretty definitive in what he said previously. Now, this is all going to tie into the story that I brought up in the last video, and we're going to follow up with that towards the end of this one because, there's more things, just the way he responds and some of the other things, there's a reason why I don't like this guy. Now, what I find funny is, going around the internet and looking at all the DC stuff being posted, and we have articles being written about all kinds of different things, we now have more people coming out of the woodwork and actually defending what was done with the DCU. And this is from Screen Rant. Man of Steel's ending featured Superman making a very controversial decision, but a decade later, it has been shown to be the right choice. There was so much hate for that. Now they're saying it was the right choice. It was always the right choice. If Superman is put in that position, what is he going to do? Let the family die? That's not who Superman is. He did the only thing he could. And they're now realizing how that put that character into a situation he's never been put in before on film to have to make those types of decisions. It's very interesting dynamic how these films were ahead of their time. We have James Gunn out there promoting Blue Beetle. Now, under the SAG-AFTRA rules, he should not be promoting anything. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets fined for this. But he is the head of the studio, and he is trying to get people to go see Blue Beetle. And we're going to talk more about Blue Beetle here in a few minutes. But he did go out and promote this, which is against SAG-AFTRA rules, but he did it anyway. Now, I thought this was interesting. It says Warner Brothers is releasing a Black Adam, The Flash 4K Blu-ray 2-pack for some reason. Yeah, exactly. That makes no sense at all, especially when, you can pretty much guess, the contradictory statement that makes with the general public. It just flies in the face of everything that they're doing. Now, this is something I did post in my last video, but I wanted to follow up with it, where it says Blue Beetle's direct response to Zack Snyder's support says film pays tribute to Man of Steel. And yes, in fact, some of the reviews have come out and have said that the film does have several, so it's more than just one reference to Man of Steel that was clearly made for this film. So I do believe him when he says he does respect Zack Snyder. I still believe this is a ploy to try and get Zack Snyder fans to go see the film, which I don't think is going to work. I do plan on seeing this, but when it's $5 on one of the $5 days next to my house. I did have free tickets to go see it. If you guys didn't see, I did have free tickets to go see it yesterday, but I didn't go. I chose not to go. I got sent free tickets by Warner Brothers, and I didn't go because it was 40 miles from my house. So not only would I have to leave super early to get there, because you have to get there before the movie starts, several hours at least. So I'd have to wait several hours just to make sure I got a place to see it. It's an hour drive away plus an hour drive back. So not only would I have to spend the time to watch the movie, but I have to spend all the gas money to get there and back, plus 4 extra hours of my time. My time is valuable, okay? YouTube is not my gig. This isn't what I do for a living. Maybe one day it will be, but as of right now, it's not. I have a full-time job as a voice actor. I have jobs I have to do. I have other things that I work on. YouTube is not my main gig, and so my time is valuable. I have to juggle a lot of different things, and I'm not going to waste 4 extra hours above and beyond, seeing the movie when I can take a bike ride 5 minutes from my house to go to the movies and spend $5. That I will do, but I am not going to go through all that extra effort just to see the film. Now, I thought this was interesting. I think it's funny how they keep showing these little things, because what is the team that is working with him actually going to say? Are they going to come out and say something negative? They're not. So this is, again, more PR stuff. Legacy's VFX supervisor has high praise for the team James Gunn has assembled. It says Superman Legacy VFX supervisor praises James Gunn's script and confirmed crew. Of course they do. What else are they going to do? Say they don't like what he's done? Now, here's where things start to get very interesting. It says DCEU producer Charles Roven has confirmed that he's not involved in developing DC Studios' new DCU with James Gunn. He said it's a little bit unclear to me exactly how finite their desire is to use or not to use any DCEU actors in the same roles. That was his quote from the direct, and we're going to see another picture in regards to this here in a minute. So it says, producer Charles Roven, who was set to produce Man of Steel 2, will not be involved with Gunn's DCU. So, yeah, he's out. They're getting rid of everybody who was part of this old plan. They only want people who are going to be loyal to James Gunn. They're completely turning their away from the serious nature of what the DCU was to turn everything into a comedy. And this is a sad thing that's happening behind the scenes. Now, this cracked me up. Strong words from Zachary Levi on the state of Hollywood. Shazam 2's Zachary Levi says Hollywood releases a lot of garbage movies. I just about choked when I heard this, because that's exactly what Shazam 2 was. And I was one of those individuals that really liked the first Shazam movie. I really did. The second one, to me, my wife didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was way silly, and it was a degrade in the character. It was like the character went backwards from the first film to the second film. He was way more silly in the second one when he should have been more serious. And it was just, the movie was not very good. And it's funny that he's coming out making these comments when he's in some of those films. So here's the invite that I had to go see Blue Beetle, but I passed on this one. It's the first DC movie I have passed on. Now, this was one of those headlines that makes you do a double check. It was interesting. It says, James Gunn praises Wonder Woman series as one of the best things to come out of DC in years. And they show a picture of Gal Gadot. And that's not what this had anything to do with. It actually has to do with a comic book series that is being written by DC right now. It has nothing to do with Gal Gadot at all. In fact, we're going to talk more about Gal Gadot and James Gunn here in a minute. So here's the official response back from James God. I'm reading his comment, and that's how that came out. James Gunn. That's how he sees himself. That's how Zaslav sees him, as a god. It's pretty funny. At any rate, you can see that he said, somebody asked him, you didn't cast a porn star as Lex, right? It's so ridiculous, it could be true. And he said, oh my God, you can't possibly believe that. Oh, brother. Yeah, you can believe that. And I'm going to talk about why I posted this and why this is important. To me, it seemed so ridiculous, just like this person said. It's so ridiculous it could be true. That was my thought. And the reason I posted it, and what you have to understand, I clearly made it well known that I didn't believe that this was happening, but I wasn't putting it, outside the realm of possibility. Here's why. About 4 years ago, Corn Sweat was also tied to the role of Superman. Rumors. So was the individual that they're referring to here in this post. He was also being rumored for Lex Luthor. Well, now who's Superman? So who's to say that this isn't the person that could be Lex? Now, James Gunn says you can't possibly believe that. That is not refuting that this guy could be Lex. Gunn has made comments in the past that he dances around and then might do something that seems like just the exact opposite. So, can you take this as a definitive no, he's not Lex? No, because he never said that. That's not what he said. He's just making a comment that how can people possibly believe that? You have to understand, this is the kind of person that James Gunn runs with. It's in his group of people. Again, if you know his past, you can understand how this could be true. And so that's why I posted it. I don't know if I grabbed the picture of it. I may have, but somebody made the comment, it was on Twitter, that people like me are nerds and we're going to believe anything that we see. And that's not what I said. And I didn't believe it, but it was still a possibility, and that's why I brought it to my video. And he supposedly posted the tweet where it came from. It was more than just a tweet. This guy, the guy who they're referring to, also put it on his Facebook page. And a couple of other outlets picked up on the story as well. I told you, I didn't just throw that up there because I saw it. I actually did a little bit of research on this. And so it wasn't just me willy-nilly bringing this. This was being talked about all over social media. Now, this here is interesting. This came from the Direct just yesterday. It says, James Gunn promised to re-release one controversial DCE movie, reveals director. One director revealed that DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn promised an exciting re-release for a highly talked-about DCEU movie. And that is Suicide Squad, the original by David Ayer. And again, James Gunn hasn't said anything about this, and James Gunn goes back on his word. He has, Warner Brothers goes back on its word. Warner Brothers said Superman, that Henry Cavill was back as Superman. Then they yanked him away. You have James Gunn, said he has nothing against Cavill, but then a few weeks later he gets fired. He talked about, Ben Affleck wanting to direct a movie for DC when he revealed he would never do anything for this DCU. So Gunn makes comments that he'll walk back. He will definitely he'll have to walk them back. You can't believe, the whole thing with Gal Gadot coming back as Wonder Woman. He had a verbal agreement with Gal Gadot that she was back as Wonder Woman, and now they're saying that is not the case. But he hasn't commented on that, which is going to tie into one of the pictures here. So here we go. It says, James Gunn was asked if this particular star is playing Lex Luthor in the DCU. And he said, you can't possibly believe that. But this person pointed out that there has been no comment yet on what's happening with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So he'll come out and make a comment about that. And I'm glad he did, because this is one of those times where I think he needed to come out and say something. But it's still not a definitive no, that person isn't Lex. He's just saying you can't possibly believe that. Well, there's a lot of things that happen that I can't possibly believe, but they still happened anyway. Now, here's something kind of funny. Every time I go to, there's a Goodwill very close to where I live, and every time I go there, I always buy Blu-ray players that people have dropped off because you can get them for like $6 to $8. And I have a huge collection of Blu-rays and stuff that I've burned myself on a Blu-ray, and I always want to be able to view that stuff even after stuff stops getting manufactured, whether it's now or 20 years from now. And the last two Blu-ray players I picked up each had a movie in them. One of them was Justice League, the theatrical version. I am actually going to burn that disc. Maybe I'll actually do a short video when I go to burn it. I kind of did a joke on social media today where I said one of these films is utter garbage, and the other one I don't even know if it's culturally appropriate for me to own that movie or watch it. I don't know what the rules are anymore. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the chances of picking up a Blu-ray player and finding movies in there was kind of funny. All right, so this is another photo that I found interesting. And again, this is these individuals saying, look, you can come see our movie. It hasn't been touched by this guy. These people understand how toxic James Gunn is. Blue Beetle director Angel Manuel Soto has confirmed James Gunn and fellow DC Studios co-CEO Peter Safran had minimal involvement. So it says Blue Beetle director says James Gunn didn't have much input with the final cut of the film. Much input. That means he had some. Okay. I'm surprised that the Man of Steel comments got put in there because they probably realized that they have turned their back and they're losing money on all these films, and now they're desperate to try to get as many people as they can to go see this film. Again, it's just some weird marketing and some weird things to be going on with everything. The dynamics of James Gunn coming in and blowing everything up has been very bad for the studio. You cannot deny that James Gunn coming in and doing what he did was bad, that it wasn't bad for the studio. It absolutely was bad for the studio. Their movies are tanking. We had people coming back for Black Adam, and then as soon as the reboot was announced, everything thereafter, and even this film, is scheduled to open up to even less than the other films. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad to see what's going on with the state of DC, with the studio. And who knows if they're going to get back on track. The strike is continued, just so you guys know. It is scheduled. I talked to a couple SAG-AFTRA members, and it is scheduled to go into next year. They expect that there might be a resolution sometime in mid-January, possibly February. But that's going to totally destroy the entire TV season and movies for an entire year. And so next year is going to be pretty slim pickings. And every day that goes by is worse for the studio because these people who back these films and productions, they want money back on their investment. And if they don't get released, those things aren't happening. I'm going to be doing my big movie update here sometime in the next day or so, and there's more delays, like with Tron 3, and which I don't even think is a movie that should be made. It's not really a direct follow-up to Legacy, one of my favorite top 10 films of all time is Tron Legacy, and they're not really following up with that. But there are some shows like Terminal List and The Old Man that were really good programs this last year, and everything's on hold. They've got 4 episodes of The Old Man in the bag for season 2, but because of the strike, the rest are not going into production right now, and so things are just not looking good in general for movies and TV shows, and it's pretty sad to see the state of what's going on. But, these people, the whole tech and the AI thing is something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed immediately. All right, guys, so there's my DC update for the day. What are your guys' thoughts? No, I am not a gullible person by any stretch of the imagination. The fact that people think that is freaking hilarious. But you have to understand, I am bringing you guys all the stuff that I find online, and it was definitely one of those stories with that person playing Lex that I did have to talk about. It was being talked about in many places online. It wasn't just my video, and it was something that the studio did need to address, and I'm glad they did, but they didn't quite button it up the way I was hoping for, and they still have had no comment on Gal Gadot. All right, we will see you guys on the next video.